So, hello everyone, welcome back to the today's session. We are in day 24 session. In the last session, we have seen what happens when we are not overriding the equals and hash code method, especially when you are working with respect to hash set or linked hash set or something like hash map. So far, we didn't see, but it will be applicable for map related stuff also, especially hash map. So that's fine. Okay, so that is the reason we supposed to like what override the equals and then hash code method accordingly. We will not violate the existing collection rules. So that's fine. But in today's session, I would like to like what discuss about what cursors in Java. Okay, cursors in Java, meaning that cursors in especially in collections. So we have a enumeration. Okay, we have a iterator. We have a list iterator is there. So basically, what do you mean by cursor? Cursor is always pointing to something. Cursor is general meaning is what? It is pointing to some element. Okay, especially all these elements are available inside the collection itself. So enumeration is, I can say like, it is an outdated. Okay, because nobody is using, especially this enumeration cursor we are applying on top of legacy classes. Legacy classes means what? On the older version classes like hash table, okay, something like vector, okay, stack, something like this. So first of all, yes, you may ask or you may get one doubt. Sir, what do you mean by cursor? Why we are using? It's very simple. First, observe this particular simple example, so that from that particular point onwards, I'll try to tell you the significance of going for cursors itself. Okay. So if I define this test 7, just create any collection object, whether it might be list object or set or queue, anything, whatever you want. It depends on the requirement. You can create it. So just define the main method. I am creating hash set object, hash set of integer, hs equals to new hash set of integer. Let me save this. So after this, Control Shift O is for importing the hash set. After this, for int I equals to 1, I less than or equals to 10, I plus plus, sorry, I plus plus. This is the hs dot add of I save it, and after that, system dot out dot println of. Okay, if you see the output, save it, and when I try to run this, 1 to 10 elements. All the elements are displayed all at once. Now my requirement is I wanted to display these elements one by one. Sir, if you want to display these elements one by one, yes, we can do it in by using normal for loop also, for each loop also, something like this. For example, we'll see, we'll try to like what use for loop for int I equals to 0, I less than hs dot size. Okay, so I plus plus. Okay, using for loop, I'm traversing the collection elements. Okay, system dot out dot println of hs dot. Okay, get method is not there now. I think then how it is possible? If get method is not there, so then 1 second. I think for the retrieval purpose, any methods are there? I think we don't have any methods are there. So in this case, we supposed to convert this existing I mean hash set object into the collection, and then we can apply that get method. That's fine. But now, okay, we'll try to like what use the for each. Okay, for each method I am enhanced for loop. I'm trying to use to traverse these elements. Of course, we can. So for of the data type is integer, temporary variable name is anything, and actual variable name is hs. System dot out dot del of I. So that instead of displaying the entire collection object all at once, I wanted to display these elements one by one. So if this is your requirement, yes, you can happily apply the for each loop. And even if you're observing the output, one is displaying, second, third one, fourth one, like this, one by one, the elements are going to be displayed. So in this way, we can apply this for each method. And now my point is, while it is traversing the elements, okay, while we are traversing the elements, I wanted to perform some operations. For example, I wanted to remove the element, or else I wanted to like what add the element. Okay, so if these are your requirements, that is not at all possible by using this for each loop or enhanced for loop. Only using this, we are able to traverse the elements, we are able to retrieve the elements, we are able to read the elements. Rather than read, we are not able to perform any other extra operations. So then if that is your requirement, what we have to do is, see, right now all the elements are available inside the collection object, that is hs. Now I wanted to like what apply the first. Let me start with what iterator, list iterator, and then for the time being, I will show you one example on enumeration also. Okay. So, but the point is here, iterator is what? Iterator. Okay. For example, iterator, uh, iterator API. Okay. If I open this, see, simply it is what interface. An iterator over a collection. Iterator takes the place of enumeration in the Java collection framework. Iterators differ from enumerations in two ways. Iterators allow the caller to remove the elements from the underlying collection during the iteration with well-defined semantics. Method names have been improved. So what they are telling, they are trying to, because in the older versions, people are using only we have enumeration is there. They just implemented that, and then they came from enumeration to like what iterator. That is the reason they were trying to explain the difference or improvement over the enumeration about this iterator itself. That's fine. But the point is, and it got introduced in the 1.2 version. Okay, now the point is here, iterator iterates the elements over a collection. So how we can, because since it is an interface, you can't create an object. Since it is an interface, you can't create an object directly, right? But how can we create the object? Because every collection class, okay, for example, array list or linked list or hash set or sorted set, queue, priority queue, anything, take any implementation class, take any collection class. Definitely there is a one method, that is iterator method. When you invoke that method, it gives you an iterator class object, iterator interface object. So it's a kind of factory method. So see, I will show you. For example, as of now, hash set is there, right? Hash set API. If I open this hash set, one method pakka is there. That is what iterator method. Yes, it is there. You see, control 1 second. Yeah, you see, iterator method. You just observe the return type and you just observe the method and you just read something. Returns an iterator over the elements in this set. So like this iterator method not only available inside the hash set, this is available in each and every collection class. Every collection class, this is available. When you create the corresponding collection class object, on top of that object, if you invoke this method, it gives you an iterator object. So using that object, we are able to like what retrieve the elements, because inside the iterator interface, we have some predefined methods are there. See, you just observe as next method is there. So as next, okay, next method, remove method like this. As I said, not only we are able to traverse, we can perform some other operations also. Using iterator, we can perform the removal operation also. That is not possible by using normal for each loop. Just by using iterator interface object, you are able to perform this removal operation also. Has next method, whether the element is there or not in the collection. If the element is there, it will give you the true. It will give you the Boolean value true. If it is true, then we are able to fetch the element. To fetch that particular or to read that particular element, we are going to like what use the next method, okay, of the iterator interface itself. The same thing I will try to like what apply here after this for each loop. Save it here. Okay, otherwise you can keep this also, not a problem. So as of now, I'm just keeping it in the commenter. Now I wanted to like what create the apply hs dot iterator, just call it, and here assign statement to new local variable. Okay, iterator object is getting created. See, sir, iterator I is capital. Iterator is an interface of integer type, because only you mentioned already the hash set with respect to generic version only. That is the reason here also you mentioned. Okay, so now my iterator object is ready. So entire all the elements are going to be available inside the object of iterator. So how exactly it looks like? So if consider this is an object. Okay, now like this all the elements are available. Okay, now iterator is pointing to the just before the first element. What is the first element for us? 1, 2, okay, 3, like this. Whenever you create the iterator object, it is just pointing, this cursor is pointing just before the first element. So now we have to cross check whether the element is there or not there. By using which method we can cross check? Has next method. So since if element is there, we can fetch that element, we can read that element by using which method? Next method. So the same thing I'm going to apply, because we don't know. If you don't know how many elements are available inside the collection, what we have to do is while loop apply. While of iterator dot has next method. Okay, if the elements are there, system dot out dot println of itr dot next method. So itr dot next method is Use it to, so not ITR, sir. It is the iterator, sir. The variable which you created is iterator. So if you run this, so you are able to like what fetch the elements one by one. See here, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this up to 10. We are able to fetch these elements like this. And as I said, not only we are able to like what fetch the elements like this, we are able to perform some removal operations also. How can you perform these removal operations? Just create your own requirement. Now, what is my requirement? Now, what is my requirement? Before your printing, if iterator dot, come on please, iterator dot, next, it is giving you the integer object only, percentile 2 double equals to 0. I am just creating my own requirement. If it is 0, that means what? All those are what? Even numbers. So I want to like what? Remove those even numbers from my existing collection object. Iterator, spelling is wrong, sir. Spelling is wrong. Iterator. Okay. Now my requirement is whatever the integer objects you are adding from 1 to 10. Now I am cross checking whatever the elements are comes under even numbers. I am trying to remove. Okay, I am performing this removal operation. Okay, on top of this underlying object. So at last, system.out.println of AL. If I am printing whatever the elements you are adding, all the elements are coming, or only odd numbers you are going to get. Sorry, it's not AL, sir. It is an HS hash set object, right? Okay, let me do it. HS, save it. When I'm trying to run this, now if you are observing 13579, so even numbers are going to be removed. So using which object it is, we did this using iterator object. Like this, we are able to like what checking, okay, whether the element is there or not. If the element is available, control comes into the loop, and accordingly we are performing this logic, and accordingly we are applying this remover, and as well as we are able to like what retrieve the elements also by using requirement itself. So in this way, by using iterator, we are able to like what fetch the elements. We are able to perform the read operation especially, and of course removal operations like this. So next method, okay, see here I am writing few things as next method, okay, to check whether okay collection object contains okay elements or not. Okay, if it is there, it will enter into the next method. Next method to retrieve the or to read the element, to read the current element. Like this, we need to understand. And remove, we have already seen just now. Remove is for what? To remove the elements. To remove the elements. Yes, you may get one doubt, sir. You may get one doubt itself, sir. We are removing something like this. That's fine. Now I'm applying this HS. Now one more time I'm applying while off. Right now we have 13579. Okay, now while off iterator dot has next system dot out dot println of iterator dot next. If I'm applying, obviously we are getting 13579 itself. Okay, we are not getting 1 second. Okay, so otherwise I'll do one thing. We already did this remove operation based on our condition, and here let me save this. Just I'm maintaining one separation when I'm trying to run this. Okay, so it is not coming. 1 second, let me save this. Okay, this is one thing you need to understand, and here you just observe here. I'll try to like what modify this only. Iterator dot next method. Let me save this, and if I'm removing, save it. If I run this application, all the elements 1 to 10 elements are going to be displayed. Okay, now without condition, if I'm applying this iterator dot remove method, I'm not mentioning any condition. System dot out dot println of, or you can apply the for each loop also. Okay, simply for integer I. Okay, actual object is HS. System dot out dot println of I. Save it. Isn't HS? Okay. So this is the for each loop, right? So before you remove, what are the elements are there? After removal, what are the elements are there? You just observe here. But in between, I'm trying to like what maintain one separator so that you can easily observe the output difference. When I try to run this, here you see 1 to 10 elements are going to be displayed. But if you are observing here, 1 to 9 only it is coming. Meaning that when you are applying the remove method, okay, when you are applying the remove method, when you are applying this remove method, this next method at last it is returning 10 only, last element only. What is the last element it is returning? 10 only, right? that last element, okay, will be removed when you are applying the remove method. So that is the reason after remove method apply, okay, invocation, when you are applying this for each loop, if you are observing this output, only 1 to 9 was there. Only 1 to 9 was there. This is also one thing you need to understand. So based on the condition wise, you can apply the remove method. Okay, without condition, if you are applying the remove method, whatever the element which is returned, lastly returned by the next method, that element will be removed when you are applying the remove method. This is what you need to understand. So let me copy this example on top of the iterator. Example on iterator. Not only hash set, you can apply this iterator on top of any collection class. And moreover, one more important point, sir, you are just removing, you are just retrieving these elements, 1 to 10 elements in the forward direction. In the forward direction only. Now my requirement is I wanted to retrieve these elements in backward direction. Is it possible? It is not at all possible by using iterator interface itself. That is the reason iterator, very, very important note point is, okay, so iterator is unidirectional cursor only, unidirectional cursor. Okay, unidirectional cursor means what? Using this, come on, using this, we are allowed to retrieve the elements, okay, to retrieve the elements only in forward direction. Forward direction. This is what you need to remember and understand. Okay, so right, my requirement is not only removal, sir. My requirement is not only fetching the elements in forward direction, and then my requirement is also like I wanted to retrieve the elements in backward direction also. If these are your requirements, obviously we will go for what? One more interface, that is what? List iterator. Right, list iterator is the powerful cursor in entire collection. Okay, powerful cursor in entire collection framework. Why? Because it's very simple. Using this, we are allowed to retrieve the elements. Come on, we are allowed to retrieve the elements in both the forward direction. Come on, both forward direction and as well as, okay, backward direction. I mean to say, okay, in reverse order also we are able to fetch these elements. Such kind of methods are available inside the list iterator. But only the drawback, it's not a drawback, it's a, what do you call, a boundary, okay, kind of limitation. So what is the drawback? We can apply this, list iterator interface, okay, list iterator interface only on top of, list related implementation classes, So meaning that I wanted to like what apply this list iterator on top of the hash set. It is not possible. If you are observing inside the hash set, okay, inside the hash set, only these methods are there. Are you seeing any iterator method? Any list iterator method? Iterator method is there. Iterator method you can apply on top of anything, any collection class. That is the reason another name of iterator cursor is what? It is a universal cursor. Universal cursor means what? You can apply this iterator interface on top of any type of collection class. But you cannot apply the list iterator interface on top of any collection. Only list related implementation classes only you can apply this list iterator. That is what you need to remember. But using this, we do have some kind of advantages. What about the advantages? You can retrieve the elements in both forward direction and as well as what? Backward direction. And one more advantage. So using iterator only we removed. But using this, we can modify the data. I mean to say we can update the data, we can add the data, we can remove the data. All the CRUD operations you can perform by using list iterator, but it is not possible in case of iterator interface. So these two are so that is the reason list iterator is the powerful cursor, but only the drawback is you can apply only on top of the list related implementation classes. Even though if you're observing here, so if I'm trying to like what invoke the list iterator on top of the set related implementation classes, it is not there. You're not seeing anything. Okay, because so that is what you need to understand. So now instead of hash set, now I'm just creating this one as the array list object. I'm just changing this only. So it's not an hash set now, it's an array list. So to invoke the list iterator method, array, yes, one second, array list, save it. Control Shift O is for importing this. And let me try to like what remove all these things. Now I have a okay, this one is required later. Array list object is there. System.out.println of. Okay, here also I'm just changing for our readability purpose. AL stands for array list object. When I try to run this, yes, we are getting, okay, we are getting some error, compilation problem. Okay, it's not an HS, it's an AL. Save it, Control Z, save it, Control it, Control F. When I try to run this, you're able to get all the 10 elements. That's fine. Now, on top of this, yes, you can apply the iterator. That's fine. Iterator method can be applied on top of any collection class. That is the reason we can consider this one as what universal cursor. But on top of this, you can apply the list iterator method also. See here, returns a list iterator over the elements in this list in proper sequence. List iterator is the method. L is small, I is capital. But it is returning what? List iterator, where list iterator is what? One of the predefined interface available inside the util package. It is an interface. Okay, so 1 second. List iterator method I am applying. Okay, so it will give you control 1 assign statement to new local variable. Okay, LTR. Okay, just simply I'm mentioning. So now anyhow I have created the list iterator object. Now I'm applying while of LTR dot same story has next method system.out.println of LTR dot next method. Sorry, next method. So save it. If I'm trying to like what retrieving these elements, all the elements are going to be displayed in forward direction 1 to 10. Now, after traversing all these elements, your LTR object is pointing after the last element. Is pointing after the last element. Before traversing, your LTR object, your list iterator object is pointing before the first element. After traversing, it is pointing after the last element. Now, I want to like what retrieve the elements in backward direction, meaning that on top of the list iterator object has previous method is there, but this kind of method was not there in case of iterator interface. As previous method will do what? Whether the previous elements are there or not there, it will cross check like that. If it is there, it gives you the true, otherwise it gives you the false. So if there, to retrieve those previous elements, you have to like what call the previous method. So next method will give you the next element. In the same manner, previous method will give you previous element. As next method is to check whether the element is there or not. As previous method is used for to cross check whether the previous element is there or not there. Like this, different methods are there. Now, if I run this application, see here, 10 to 1. So are we able to like what retrieve the elements in backward direction also? 100% yes. Okay, system dot, here I am writing system dot out dot println of retrieving the elements in backward direction. So save it. Okay, here I am writing. Okay, system dot out dot println of retrieving. Okay, the elements in forward direction. Let me save this. If I try to like what run this, only SOP statements are going to be added. That's it, just to clear understanding. 1 to 10 and then 10 to 1 we are able to display. Okay, that's fine. Now, along with that, I wanted to like what apply the remove method already we have seen in case of iterator. Now I wanted to show you kind of set method, add method, something. For example, LTR dot add method I am applying. Okay, 1 to 10 is there, 11 I am adding. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so now try to understand. We are applying the add method here. Okay, when we run this application, you just observe. Of course, we are not observing here because after traversing only we just add it. But if you are observing here, definitely we can observe it will be started from 11 itself. And I'm trying to run this. Yeah, it started with 11 itself. That means so this 11 is going to be added at the last. Okay, so that means using list iterator, we are able to like what perform the add also. And in the same manner, I wanted to. So now I wanted to like what perform the modification also. So after retrieving these elements in the previous order, so now my list iterator is pointing to before the first element. Okay, that means now if I'm applying LTR dot set off, okay, LTR dot set off, something like 0 if I'm adding, okay, 12 I'm adding. Otherwise, any value you can add it. That's not a problem. For example, if I'm adding 100, if I'm adding 100, so now tell me, so now has previous and then previous methods. So previous, okay, let me save this. Let me say comment it and then save it. And you just observe here. Now the previous method, LTR dot previous method is returning which element? Tell me here. Of course, one. Okay, of course, one. Now, when I'm applying this set method, whatever the element which is returned by the previous method, that element will be modified when you are applying the set method itself. How can you observe? How can you observe? When I am using system.out.println off, okay, if I'm applying AL, definitely what is the element is there? Is it something like 1 to 11 or something like that 1 will be replaced with the 100? Obviously that 1 will be replaced with the 100 itself. When I try to run this, see here, this is the 100. See, previously when you are applying this has previous and then previous method is returning 1, and now you are applying set method. This set method will perform how exactly it is working. Whatever the element which is returned by this previous method, okay, whatever the element, yes, which is returned by the previous method, that will be replaced. In case of forward direction, whatever the element which is returned by the next element, and after this when you are applying the set method, that will be replaced. So this is what you need to understand, okay, regarding while you are applying the set method. So basically we are able to perform the modification by using set method. We are able to perform the removal. We are able to perform the add method also. So this is how exactly list iterator works. Okay, we are able to fetch the elements in both forward and backward, and we are able to perform all the modifications, adding, removal, everything we are able to perform. So that is the reason. And moreover, along with this here, 2 more methods are there. Has previous to check, okay, whether previous elements are there or not, okay. And now previous method to check whether to retrieve or to read, okay, to retrieve the previous element, exact previous current element. So for this we have to, so these are the different methods which are available inside the list iterator. Okay, control C, and here example on list iterator. Let me save this, control V, save it. It's very important. So you should be in a position to give you the differences in between iterator and then list iterator itself. Okay, after this I wanted to show you one more example on top of enumeration. If that is the case, enumeration is also the interface, is also the consideration, can be considered as what cursor, but usually we are applying this cursor on top of the legacy classes like array, stack, vector, stack, hash table, dictionary, something like this, because it got introduced in the older version. If you want, you can really observe here. What is that? Enumeration, right? Enumeration API. When I try to docs.oracle.com open, it got introduced in the 1.0, and here also it is an interface, has more elements, next element. Methods are what different, little different. Methods are not like exact iterator and the list iterator. And yeah, on top of the vector, if you call the elements method, it will give you the enumeration. So we'll see, sir. It's not a great challenge for us. So instead of array list, if I am using vector I'm using right now. If I'm using vector, let me save this. Control Shift O is for importing the java.util.vector. Okay, let me try to remove all these things. Instead of removing whatever we need, we just here V, here also V, and this is fine. V. Let me try to save this. Control V, Control S. Okay, keep like that, not a problem. Now, if I'm trying to run this, okay, usually add method also we can use it, but especially in the vector, we have one method is there to add the elements, that is add element. Okay, add element. So that was the old method actually. Okay, we can use the add method also, but so you need to understand, just for the sake of understanding, I'm using this add element, and I'm just adding, right? Now I wanted to retrieve these elements by just using the enumeration. How we can create the object of enumeration? Just by creating directly, it is not possible since it is an interface. But on top of the vector object, if you call elements, it's elements method. Yeah, you see, it gives you the enumeration object, right? So here, control one, assign statement to new local variable. It's an so what do we call? Okay, enr, something like this, enumeration. Okay, now while of enr dot has more elements, different methods are there. System dot out dot println of enr dot next element. Let me save this and I try to run this. You're able to like what fetch the elements one by one like this. So inside the enumeration only has more elements, next elements. We are not even performing removal or any other operations you can't perform. So that is the reason this enumeration mostly outdated. Very rarely you will get a chance to like what apply this, but just for retrieving the elements in forward direction. And moreover, methods are also going to be like what different. Just for simple, for the sake of understanding purpose, I am giving you one example. Example on enumeration interface. This is also the cursor only, but initial cursor was introduced in the initial versions of Java. Okay. So this is all about what iterator, list iterator, and then enumeration. So these three cursors are very, very important to traverse the elements. While we are traversing the elements, based on the requirement, you can perform different operations also. Okay, so this is all about what today's sessions. I hope you understand. So please try to practice, and then before attending my next sessions, thoroughly practice this and then attend the, refer the next session itself. Then only you will get the clarity. So please like this video, share this video to your needy friends. Okay, so that is all about my today's session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.